When your energy changes, your vibration changes, different things and people come into your world, others fall away naturally. It's not wrong, but it is uncomfortable at times and part of the growth we're on, and everybody is on their own path. I would have never assumed to know what yours is. I just wanted to share what this looked like for me and some of the tools I when I looked back over those 2 years, I was like, how have I gotten through this to the other side, knowing it's still going in this new direction, but really going from waking up completely anxious, easily frustrated, easily pissed off, feeling like, this isn't working, to finally like being just really at peace and at home in my body and connecting on a level with family, with friends, with new people in a way that is completely new and nurturing and wonderful to me. That I looked back and I was like, okay, it was all these breadcrumbs coming together. Welcome to the Shift Your Vibe to Thrive podcast. My name is Emily Evans Russell, and I'm a single mom, multiple six-figure business owner, and master mindset and energy coach. I created this podcast with two main targets. One, to give you practical tools so that no matter where you are in your life right now, you not only know that things can shift, but you know how to make them greater. And two, to change your frequency so that you become an energetic match for everything you desire. I'm talking your relationships, your finances, your success, all of it. Think of this podcast as your weekly energetic upgrade with a mix of subconscious mind hacks, ways to quantum leap, and consciousness shifts. A place where you learn to sculpt your reality and actually finally truly have the magical life you deserve, and one that works for uniquely you. Are you ready to uplevel your reality? I think I hear yes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much for being here. And now let's go to the show. Hey guys, so this episode, I'm just pressing record and going. My guess is it's going to be a little more personal episode. It's just me. I don't have on a guest today. As you may know, I've taken a summer break, like a wonderful 2.5 months, almost 3 months, to really slow down and enjoy. I have two daughters, and they just started 6th grade and 9th grade. And it was a time in my business and my life where a lot has changed. And I'm titling this podcast, How to Turn Setbacks into Comebacks. And setback is a frame of mind, right? But I know, like, the way I cognitively know is anything that seems like a setback is actually a stepping stone, a place for growth, like to a new direction. And I also know when you are in the middle of that, it sure as hell feels like a setback. And it's like, what the F is going on? And so my whole life, I mean, everybody has their own experiences, right? And we've all experienced these ups and downs and setbacks and places where unexpected changes in relationships, in jobs, in our environment, in our family show up, right? And when we look in hindsight, it's easy to see clearer, like, oh, that might have sucked at the time, but now I see where it led me, or I see it changed this, and it was actually a greater outcome. And sometimes maybe it's not that, but definitely in hindsight, it's easier to see that. And yet when we're in it, it's so key to look at ourselves and our desire for what we want for our lives and the energy of, like, we get to dial in the energetics of what we would like to create in our lives. And when we set that path of, like, I desire this, like, maybe it's more fulfillment, maybe it's more relaxation, peace, enthusiasm, but energetically get a sense of, like, this is what I desire. We get to set that, and then everything in the universe is energy, so that responds to us. And when we're in the middle of some really deep stuff, like changes, setbacks, it can be so easy to be like, but I feel like crap, and my energy is like, and I don't want to get out of bed, or I'm running around manic and stressed out and panicked and anxious. And so what I want to talk about in this is some of the things I've especially used in the last 2 years when a lot of those shifts show up. So if you know a bit of my story, I got divorced, it's been about 7 years ago. And that obviously is a big change. And in that case, like I was the one choosing, like initiating that choice. So in that sense, it was easier, but it's a whole life rearrangement, like, okay, I'm going to see my girls every other week at the time, and learning how to co-parent and dealing with that intensity and friction, with your partner as you split up. And that was definitely a time that was hard, but I also had a very clear, like I looked and asked that question, okay, but if I choose this, what will my life be like 5 years in the future? And your brain can't figure that one out. But I had a clear, energetic sense of that and dialed in like greater, more ease, more fulfillment, actually like an easier time with my daughters. Eventually, we had to move through some stuff, but an ease with co-parenting and all of that. And I remember at the time we did some therapy before the divorce and meeting separately with the therapist. And she's saying, I just want to make you aware, divorce is the number one indicator of poverty in women, for women. I don't know if that's a true fact. That's what she told me. And I would guess that's highly probable. When you have relationships shift, your income also shifts if you've been in a dual partnership. And I remember just knowing like that is not going to apply to me. And I put all of that energy into my job at the time, starting over with my girls. I had a position in a company where I could grow and find out new things I could do. And so I put all of my energy in there, and it was wonderful. And it gave me a community of people I worked with and friends and all of this where I could really go, okay, this is where I'm going in my life. And so in a sense, that was quite an easier comeback in a way, because I was making the choice. I knew where I wanted to go. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew where I was headed. But about 2 years ago, in those next, 5 years, I continued my job, which involved a lot of travel. 1 week when I didn't have my girls, it was like I was in another country for a job event. And then I'd come home and be really busy with work and the girls, and then back on another flight. And that was about my life for 5 years, and waking up for work, because it's an international company, hundreds and hundreds of messages and email and WhatsApp and Skype and Zoom meetings. And it gave me a place to really learn my capacities for creation, connecting with people, all these things I really enjoyed. And then I started to get really quite tired, but I have a naturally pretty high energy. So it also felt good to push and go and, and find a lot in that. Like I said, a great relationships, and my long-term relationship was also at work as well. So it fulfilled all these. I had all my eggs in one basket, like my relationship, my friends, my work, my fulfillment, all in one, travel, which is essential to me. So all of those were in this one basket. And a couple years ago, the first thing of that to change was my long-term relationship. And that was not of my choosing. So that was different than the divorce, like when it kind of comes like as a shock to the system, like, whoa, this is happening. And all of those, because that like we're all tied together, it's like having a really baked in lasagna of everything together. And then being like, oh, we're going to take the noodles out. So what are we going to do with this now? And so it began this period of readjustment for me where I was continually asking this question of, okay, what is true for me that I have not yet discovered? And the yet thing was that question at first was even difficult for me to ask, because I was like, here I am, 45, I think at the time, and going, okay, I've made it this far and I want to feel like I've got it figured out. And I thought I had like everything going on. I'm really happy. And what is true for me that I haven't yet discovered was like, wow, there's a lot out there, and almost like, holy shit, what have I been missing? But also this curiosity and wonder of just asking that and letting it go. And so as I readjusted to, okay, what's the job like now? And what are the friendships like? And the friendship with my ex-partner in that way, and all of this readjusting. And as I kept asking that questions, I'd go onto social media and see a friend post about a book, and then I'd maybe hear about that book again. I was like, okay, I'm going to start reading it. It would be exactly what I required at that time, words or an energy or information. And I kept just following those little breadcrumbs that would show up. Someone would mention maybe an event going on, like, hey, you can go dancing here, or I would meet a new person out, or start a new friendship with someone that I had known kind of on the sidelines for years, but it would deepen. And it was this beautiful, like, kind of unfolding when I just sat and said, I know there's something different and it's really difficult right now, but I'm going to keep asking. So I kept doing that. And one of the things I noticed in this journey was how key support was, and where I got that support from dynamically changed over the last 2 years. Because as that relationship ended and my job changed, and I just had this level of, well, there was sadness, there was anger, there was frustration, there was grief, which makes it, when you're in that, difficult to show up in all sorts of areas, in relationships with family, in your job, in the ability to connect and engage with people. So I started noticing, and for me, my signal when things are off is like I tend to just get frustrated. And if you've ever heard there's this terminology called our window of tolerance when we talk about our nervous system and what we can handle when things, because life is lifey, things show up. And that sense of I've got this. I have on a day when you have less sleep, maybe you haven't slept well, you haven't eaten, the next day, it's easy to get pissed off about things or triggered. It's that's when we signal that we've moved out of our window of tolerance and into okay, I'm pretty easily triggered today. I'm reacting to things. So we have sleep, we have food we're eating, we have our environment, we have the people in our lives, and our ability, all of us have all sorts of different tools to self-regulate, to get back to a place of peace and ease and joy and calm. And what I noticed was it was really easy for me to be out of that window because I wasn't sleeping well at all. For the first time in my life, I was like, oh, maybe this is what anxiety is like. I was waking up with worry and not sleeping, and I hadn't experienced that before for a long period of time. And so I really started to go, I require different tools here so I can get back to that sense of me, that sense of being in my body, of being relaxed, of not being uncomfortable with the emotions and the stuff that was there. And so I wouldn't immediately get triggered into frustration, into anger, into sadness, all that. Because there's nothing wrong with that at all. And we need a way to move it, process it, and come back to us. So, I did trainings in different modalities. I've read so many books in the last 2 years and courses, and met new people. And it all gave me this different sense of direction, and really looked at, okay, what do I value in life? What are my priorities? And freedom is a big one. Having a space to be with my family, hence taking these 2 months of summer to go, my daughter's going to be a freshman in high school. There's only a few summers left while she's in school. I love being a mom. Okay, how can I adjust things? And I had just chosen to leave my job of 10 years right before summer. So I was looking at, okay, how can I do this and feel also things are taken care of? I can give myself the space to do it. And it was at the beginning, leaving that job, having it be so busy and just changing. It was really interesting to see the shift from getting used to less busyness and actually being able to relax. Because before I would relax and take time for me, of course, I require that. But then I would go right back up, and it was more this roller coaster of really on, really off, really on, really off. And instead it was okay, if I'm going to take a few months here and just be present and not have to fill every moment. And I started blocking off times of just time for nothing, deep work, creation, not checking messages, not getting distracted, but just see what comes up. Today, is it going to be writing? Would it be reading? Would it be spending time outside? But giving myself space, because at first I was I'm bored. Okay, I'm bored. And then leaning into that and going, what if I just lean into this a little bit more? There was all of this creativity underneath that, what seemed like boredom at first, that was waiting there in a very different energy than up, down, up, down, up, down. So sorry if I'm all over the board with this, but this is for me what like a big, like a long-term relationship ending, changes at work, feeling frustrated at work, unfulfilled, and then leaving a job of a decade, two dynamic shifts with a great change of income with that, and going, okay, but I know for me what I desire is to, yes, feel financially like abundant, secure, that I can create, and have time with my family, have time with friends, not feel like I can't like just hang out with someone because I'm too busy, I need to go to the next thing. So I dialed in that energy of that's what I would like the future to be like, and made the choice of, okay, if that's what I want in the future, then I'm going to be choosing that today. Because if I choose to push through or not be with myself and hustle and go right back into like, okay, I left this job, now I'm going to do it just the same way, but for my own business and everything, that's familiar, it's comfortable. And what was uncomfortable for me, this may be different for you, was like going, okay, how can I expand this window of tolerance where I'm not reactive, I'm able to handle whatever comes my way, see it not as a setback, but as, okay, this is just something, like I'm being led to something different. My energy is changing. When your energy changes, your vibration changes, different things and people come into your world, others fall away naturally. It's not wrong, but it is uncomfortable at times and part of the growth we're on, and everybody is on their own path. I would have never assumed to know what yours is. I just wanted to share what this looked like for me. And some of the tools I when I looked back over those 2 years, I was like, how have I gotten through this to the other side, knowing it's still going in this new direction, but really going from waking up completely anxious, easily frustrated, easily pissed off, feeling like, this isn't working, to finally like being just really at peace and at home in my body and connecting on a level with family, with friends, with new people in a way that is completely new and nurturing and wonderful to me. That I looked back and I was like, okay, it was all these breadcrumbs coming together. And, and in these 2 years I've done some group programs. I've continued to work with clients one-on-one that, no surprise, had come to me when they're making a big change in their job, or they've broken up in a relationship or a marriage. And so it was like I was getting the information, living it, embodying it, and having it just in time to work with people. And now over these 2 years, I've really looked back and go, okay, what seems to be a theme here that I know has worked for me and I've seen work with other people. And a big piece of this was calming. Well, really, it's regulating your nervous system. What does that mean? I'm going to get a little science geeky on you for a moment, but your nervous system has two main parts. One is called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic, it starts with an S, so I like to think of that's your stressor, like the stress side. It's your respond, it's your mobilization, it's the fight or flight when we go into that. Like, do I need to mobilize forward to fight this thing that's like a threat, a perceived threat or an actual threat, or do I need to mobilize and run away to get away from it? Parasympathetic starts with a P, so I think peaceful is how it helps me to remember, is what you may have heard call your rest and digest mode. It's where the body knows everything is okay, and so it digests food, and the heart rate slows down, and your breathing gets deeper, and the natural healing and repair that goes on all the time inside of all of your cells in your body really turns on. And what I had noticed after years of working the way I was and traveling and being on and using my phone and technology, and I was very much in the sympathetic state quite a lot. And like I said, it would be these like up and then down, and then, oh my God, I have to rest, because my body was like, we need some chill time. But there wasn't just, and it became harder and harder, like more things or people or situations, I'd get more easily triggered. So I first really spent a lot of time regulating my nervous system. Now, some people, if you're not in that hyper sympathetic mode, sometimes there's an overshoot of the parasympathetic, like an overshoot of, well, actually it's more of an overshoot of in fight or flight. Another response is freeze mode, like when animals just go, I'm going to play dead. This seems like the best response. It's automatic. It just like clicks in. And that can feel like not like depression, not having any motivation, procrastination, just being like, I don't have energy to do anything. And in that case, sometimes you need to do things to actually upregulate your nervous system. I very much require downregulation. So that could be walks in nature, warm baths, breath work, meditation. There's also breath work you can do to upregulate your system, right? Or cold plunges. It's different. So it's not the same for everybody. But the key is it's getting your nervous system back in a state where it's not constantly like, oh my God, there's threats around me, because our that part of the brain that's running the subconscious, the unconscious, that's running the nervous system, thank goodness it's doing all sorts of things at once, like beating your heart and breathing, but it's also constantly, it's like having a security camera that's constantly scanning for, is there anything in the environment that can harm us? Because that's its number one job, is to keep you safe. And just like if you have one of those like Ring cameras or security cameras, like it goes ding, ding when it notices like there's movement in your backyard or there's someone at your front door. And sometimes it reads something incorrectly, right? Sometimes there's movement, but it's not a person in your backyard. It's like a bunny hopping through, right? And that's kind of what happens in the world when our nervous system is designed to let you know about threats. Sometimes it's not an actual threat, it's a bunny, but your nervous system is responding to it. Like, all I know, if it's a threat and I'm getting threat, it's like a lion about to eat me. So our body goes into all these different responses for fight or flight or freeze, and it decreases the healing, the peace, that parasympathetic nervous system. So I started really gathering different tools and realizing how much for me I needed to downregulate, and then just curious of what would show up when I would do that. So different, I've been a yoga teacher in the past, so I'm familiar. I've always really came back to my yoga practice really regularly. Also the breath work in yoga. And I had meditated before years ago, but hadn't done that in a long time because my mind's quite busy. It's not easy for me to sit there. But I found a different, again, in those breadcrumbs, a new meditation practice that I could do on my own really easily. That wasn't about getting all the thoughts out. It was easy for me. Body work, being with friends, warm baths, doing the type of breath work different from the yoga. It's similar breaths, just different ways of really learning, okay, what's calming, what can downregulate my system when I would require it. And so adding those in, I realized that piece was so key in one, hearing my intuition, my awareness, my knowing of what was actually true for me, because we're all energetic beings. So we're all aware of what's going on energetically all the time, right? When you have that sense of, I feel like I need to call a friend because there's just something, I'm just aware of something. And I have spent the last 10 years really, really tuning that in. But what I noticed was when my nervous system was all over the place, that sometimes what I felt was like, but yes, this is a yes for me. I get like through my intuition, my gut's telling me this is a yes. But the thing is, when our nervous system's out of whack, red flags will seem like yeses, like that, like more chaos, more crazy, more of this will actually feel good because it's comfortable, because your nervous system has been in that like overactive state, that hypervigilant state for so long, that it'll actually like feel good. And so we'll say yes to things, or actually feel comfortable, because we're so like up, down, out of balance. And so what I noticed was when I took this space of just more days, more time away from my phone, not as many time on meetings, more time in nature, more time being present with my animals, with my girls, with friends, with breathing, with body work, all of that. My knowing of like what was actually true for me, whether you call that your intuition, your awareness, became loud and clear in a very different way. So that when these little breadcrumbs would show up, my mind is very good at, we can logic our way into or out of anything. like, no, this is good. This is great to be like this. My life is wonderful. This is great because of X, Y, and Z. Or no, this sucks because of X, Y, or Z. But you can go either way. You can logic in or out, but your body is always giving you information, and your intuition, there's an internal, like deep inner wisdom that I was overriding a lot. And I didn't realize that until I calmed, like regulated my system enough so that when a person would come in my life, or a book, or an idea, it was a very different sense. It was like all of the background noise. Like if you imagine you have a faucet, like a leaky faucet in your house, and during the day when everyone's around and talking and people are in and out and music and you're cooking, you don't hear the leaky faucet. But when you go to sleep and everything else is quiet, you can hear that drip, drip, drip. That's what it was like. Like, so when you calm and regulate your nervous system, you can start hearing your knowing, your intuition, that drippy faucet, and the other noise that you might have had a really good reason for, like, yes, this is part of my list, is wonderful. It just softens so you can hear you, because the power is within you. It always has been. It's like this cosmic secret of actually it's you that know, and go in the, you know which way to go. So when I had that regulation of my nervous system and not always on guard and had less reactive, more space, I could hear my intuition and then learned how to train it in different ways. So I tend to be not someone that's very visual or audio, but more get a sense and a gut feeling. And the more I was like, okay, ask different questions. There's all different ways to open up your intuition. And I really spent even more time with that because, like I said, it was like a different tone, a different clarity that I wasn't used to without the background noise. And when that got really turned up, then the clarity of now, what do I want to manifest? What do I want to actualize in my life? And for me, I talk a lot about energy shopping. Like I look through when I read a book, maybe it's a passage in a book, or watch a movie, or meet a friend, and there's like this certain thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that way. They're so present and calm. They feel like an oak tree. That energy, I'd like more of that in my life. Or that scene in that movie, like I recently watched, there was a clip from the Olympics of the female American long jumper right before she was taking her gold medal jump, and her husband, who's a para-Olympian who doesn't have his own legs, was cheering her on, and she won it. And his joy for her, for someone else, of like, you're the Olympic champion, was this like, they call it mudita in Buddhism. It's like sympathetic joy. Was such this 1 minute clip, and I was like, that energy, I'll have that in my life for other people and more people that have it for me. And now that dialing in the energy on what you like your future to be, energy shopping, manifestation, the things showing up, that is so much easier and clear because now you've heard what's actually true for you. You can listen to your intuition, to your knowing, to your wisdom. And also, when your nervous system is regulated, those things you're asking for, you can actually receive them and keep them and hold on to them in your field for as long as they are serving you and wonderful, without attachment, without like, I can't lose this, but more like they can come into your field. Because when your nervous system, when you're on like super fight or flight or super freeze mode, that dysregulation is like piling up like a little house of bricks around you, so that even when you're asking for something, you're like, but why isn't this showing up? But why isn't this showing up? Or I'll get some money to come in and then it's gone. Well, because we can't, when we're in that state, that energetic state, it's like a non-receiving state. So when I really looked at that, I was like, okay, what's been these big shifts I've made over the 2 years? I'm like, it's very key, this like nervous system regulation. And there's so many ways to do it in like 1 minute at a time, but just adding that into my day as something that was really, really vital. And then hearing and trusting what my body, what my intuition was telling me, rather than like, oh shit, like my body was trying to talk to me, but I was like running through red flags and saying yes to things that weren't yeses. Like, okay, so now that's clear. And now as I like tune in and ask for energies and set that dial of like, this would be awesome, I can receive it in a whole new way. And also I went through and closed energetic gaps, like drains. If something felt a little bit off, a little bit frustrating, a little bit like, I trusted that. And I was like, that's not an energy I desire in my future. So I'm going to take care of that now. And it meant like I got a part-time job when I left my other job. I'm like, I can do this for 10 hours a week. This seems easy. It's 5 hours, that's not much. Doesn't seem like a lot energetically, but I was aware. I'm like, that is not a match though for where I'm going. When I left that opportunity as well and closed that energetic drain, immediately the following week I had I've been asking to meet other women local. I have so many wonderful friends around the world. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful for them. But I was like, I'd love just some more people in my city that I could call up and go on a walk with or go out for dinner, and literally close that energetic drain. And it opened up new friends, new people, new ideas for my business. And this program idea I'd been working on, all of a sudden, all of the copy for writing the emails and the page came through. And it was such a testament to going, okay, this is really amazing when we have these pillars in play, what we can then create with it. So from that, I don't like to facilitate or coach something until I really am okay, I have to get a sense of what this is like in my world. Try it out, experiment, play, and then have it embodied. So I'm okay, yes, I actually know this. And when I know this and I've embodied it, then I can really speak to it. And then to see it, okay, when I look at this with clients, how does it show up? How does it work in their lives? Because is this just something that worked for me? And so in that, I then was really inspired to go, okay, I know I wouldn't have gotten through these really difficult last 2 years without those pieces and without the support of a lot of different people in different ways. Some coaches, some programs, some books, some friends, some trips, all of it. But having that as my whole, literally support network shifted, friends, all of it, relationships, work. It's I knew the importance of, I would like to create something new. And so in that, this has been a program that has been literally probably a lifetime, a decade in the making for sure, as I've had different, quote, setbacks show up and been able to move through them. And in the last 2 years, though, these were, I would say, the most difficult for me personally that I've had, and spent time looking at what have I done, playing with it, embodied it, and then made sure as I worked with other private clients that these were tools that work for people. And I'm I want to offer this to other people. And so I wanted to let you guys know I'm coming out with a 3-month program called Bounce Back Babes. And it's all about turning setbacks into comebacks so that you can handle fluxes in income, in relationships, the things that tend to go, whoa, what is going on? And know that no matter what shows up, that you can get through it with more clarity and come out stronger and wiser and more energetic and happier and fulfilled on the other side. And that when that stuff comes up, there's a sense of, I've got this, rather than, oh, fuck. How am I going to get through this? Or what the F, And those moments are okay. And when those moments show up, to have the support and then the tools and the resources to go, okay, can you guide me to the other side of this and tap me into my knowing, not just tell me where I should be going, right? That is so key. So that is what the energy of this program is. And I will be giving you guys more downloads. And as I start to record shorter snippets and some of these, I've just sort of given you a big, wider view of what this is, but I'll be sharing those smaller things as well. But I just wanted to give a little bit of the backstory of how devoted I am to this, to really working with other people and empowering them to have that sense of resiliency, of life is lifey. There are going to be things that come our way. And even some of the things that seem the hardest, there are, with the correct support and empowerment of you and your intuition and what you know, and getting that regulated system so that you can hear and trust that voice within you. And when those little breadcrumbs start showing up and you get clear on what you desire, that it's very easy to follow that path of possibilities. And then when those beautiful things show up, to have so much gratitude and appreciation for them and be able to have them in your world without a sense of resistance or attachment. It's beautiful. And so I get what it's like to have gone through this. I don't know your personal story, but I get what it's like to be I don't know if I have what it takes to go through this. I've been there. I get it. I get what it's like to be I don't know what is next. And I don't know if I want to move forward. I don't know if I hide in a hole. I don't know if I just want to cry all the time. And I get what it's like to be starting over for me, like in your 40s, whatever age you're at, but being like, holy shit, I'm here at this age and like, okay. And so what I care about is facilitating being there for other people through that, because I have seen this over and over for other people and myself. Like when we walk through something and have this journey and really come out the other side changed, it's like that is a gift we can give to other people. And that is what I am here to like coach, facilitate, share that wisdom, see how it like empower you to see what that is for you, and then celebrate those comeback moments, those like, yes, like I got, this is better than I ever thought. This is amazing, because it's there, it's coming. And so if you want to find out about Bounce Back Babes, I'm going to be starting it in September. The program opens in September. It'll be 3 months. And this will be a program this is the inaugural launch. So it's going to be a special price for founding members. And then once you're in it, you have lifetime access. And then I'll be running it again, like maybe taking a month off in between, a month or two, and having another round so that I can continue to offer it and offer this community and offer the support and really learn from all of the people that choose it. What's working? What can I add? So if you want to find that link, we will put it below. And I'm just so grateful to be back and recording episodes after my wonderful summer break. We took an amazing trip to Portugal where I learned how to surf, and my girls were not so fond of the surfing, but it was a wonderful couple weeks together. And like, again, throwing myself into something new and going, I'm not supposed to be great at this at first, right? When we have things change, job, try a new activity like surfing, a relationship, and we like go, okay, I'm going to start online dating. Okay, I'm going to learn to surf. Okay, I'm going to start this new job. I'm going to grow my business in this way. I'm going to meet this new friend. It's uncomfortable at first, and it's okay. Like, you're not supposed to be great at first. You're learning, and it's amazing. And you can ask for all sorts of possibilities to show up. So long enough ramble, but I'm very happy to be back and happy to be here for you, and to send me a DM. Let me know what it's like in your world, what's been going on for you. If any of this you have questions about or would like to know more, again, send me a message on Instagram, Emily Evans Russell. You can find me on Facebook too. My email is hello@emilyevansrussell.com. I'm here, and I can't wait to see what awaits in the upcoming year ahead, end of this year and into 2025. Mwah! Thank you all. I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.